Buddhism is considered as the religion of meditation. But if you ask your Buddhist friend, do you meditate? They'll probably say, no, not that much. I don't meditate that much. So the real question is, do all Buddhists meditate? And should you meditate to become a Buddhist? Well, the first thing that we need to understand is that the word Buddhist means for someone who follows the Buddha's path, right? So to truly become a Buddhist, you need to follow the Buddha's advice and you need to follow the Buddha's path. At least you must try to do that, right? And just because you are born to a Buddhist family doesn't mean that you truly become a Buddhist, okay? So then you may ask, should you meditate to become a Buddhist? Well, it depends on what you mean by meditation. If you portray the meditation as sitting in a quiet place, cross-legged, eyes closed, and concentrating, then it is not the only meditation. Meditation can be practiced while sitting down, while lying down, while walking, and while standing. So these all four postures we can practice the meditation. And also, you don't always need to close your eyes to meditate, okay? So to become a Buddhist, not only meditation that we must practice, there are a lot of things that we need to include to our life. So according to the Buddha's advice, there are three main practices that we practice in Buddhism. If someone is practicing these three practices, then we can call him a Buddhist, right? So what are these three practices? The first practice is called Sila. Sila can be translated into English as virtues, right? So as Buddhists, we follow 5 virtues. Every Buddhist has to follow 5 virtues. So what are these 5 virtues? First one is abstaining from killing beings. Second one is abstaining from stealing. Third virtue is abstaining from sexual misconduct. Fourth one is abstaining from telling lies. And the fifth one is abstaining from taking intoxicants. So these are the 5 virtues that we follow. So this is the cornerstone, and this is the first step of Buddhist path, Buddhist practice, that is to be virtuous. So now you can understand, before meditating, you also need to be virtuous. Now, why we need to practice these virtues? A monk asked from the Buddha, what is the purpose of being virtuous? Or what is the purpose of practicing these virtues? Then the Buddha says, why you need to practice virtues is to stay away from regrets in your life. Okay? If you take a closer look at these 5 virtues, by doing the opposite of these 5 virtues, that means killing animals, stealing, doing sexual misconduct, and telling lies, and taking intoxicants, these actions can lead to regret in life, right? One's regret. And the Buddha saw that regret is one of the biggest obstacles for someone's peace in life. If your heart is complaining about the actions and the things that you did in the past, and the things that you are doing right now, if your heart is regretting about it and complaining about it, that is a bigger obstacle to find peace in one's life. So to stay away from that regret and that disturbance to your mind, to your peace, the Buddha says, be virtuous. Live a virtuous life that your heart doesn't complain you about your actions, right? Be disciplined. In a simpler way, to be self-disciplined is to practice the virtues. And then the second practice is called Samadhi. Samadhi can be translated into English as tranquility. And now this includes this meditational practice, right? But also it doesn't only mean that it is only meditation. There are so many other things that we practice to tranquilize our mind. One part of it is meditation, right? You have to sit down, go to a quiet place, close your eyes and contemplate and try to focus your mind, and then little by little your mind will become tranquilized and calm and peaceful. And also by practicing the mindfulness, we can tranquilize our mind. And by doing good things like good karma, helping people, right? We can practice this tranquility of our mind. And also, the sila that we mentioned earlier will help you to achieve a tranquilized mind. So the Buddha says you must practice virtues, you must practice sila in a way that it helps the tranquility of your mind, right? That is the sole purpose of practicing the sila. And then the tranquility. Now this includes the meditational practice. And then there's the third practice that we do. This is called prajna. Prajna can be translated into English as wisdom, right? So the Buddha showed us that how to achieve wisdom in life. And what Buddha meant by wisdom is ability to understand the true nature of life, the true impermanent nature of one's life, right? To do that, you need one part of it, you need the meditation, and also one part of that, you need the wise reflection. The Buddha says how to achieve the wisdom. First, you must listen to the Buddha's advice and listen to the Dhamma, the Buddha's teachings well, right? You need to listen to it, and also you need to wisely reflect on it, right? Through wise considering and through wise reasoning, you must achieve this wisdom, right? So these are the three practices that we do to practice Buddhism, right? Every Buddhist must practice this, right? So the first part is, in a summary, the first part is you have to be virtuous, and also then you have to practice these meditational practices, and also you have to develop wisdom. So the sole purpose of those two practices, sila and samadhi, is to help developing the wisdom in life. So these are the three practices that we do to become Buddhist. And those who practice these three practices, they don't need to name themselves as Buddhists. They all are Buddhists, okay? They all are Buddha's followers, okay? So I hope you got some idea about this matter today. So, wish to see you from another video. Take care. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. A king wanted to write down a quote on his sword to not to be too much happy when he wins, and to not to be too much sad when he loses. Now this king found out that his mind gets too much obsessed when he wins, and his mind gets too much obsessed when he defeats. So he gave this job to write down a quote on his sword to his mentor. So the mentor thought for a while, and he simply wrote down these amazing 4 words on his sword. It said, "This too shall pass." I'll repeat it again. This too shall pass. See, when we live in this world, there are worldly conditions that we have to experience in this world. The Buddha named these worldly conditions as 8 worldly conditions, Atta Loka Dhamma. In Dutiya Loka Dhamma Sutta, the Buddha explains this, that because the whole world revolves around 8 worldly conditions, and the 8 worldly conditions revolves around this world. What are these 8 worldly conditions? The Buddha explains that gain and loss is a worldly condition, and praise and blame is a worldly condition, and fame and disgrace is a worldly condition, and pleasure and pain is a worldly condition. So these are the worldly conditions that we go through and we experience in all of our lives. Now the problem is not having to go through these all worldly conditions. The problem behind this is our minds get too much obsessed with these worldly conditions. When we win, our minds get too much attached to it, and we forget that this victory won't last forever. And when we lose and when we defeat, when we fall down, our minds get too much obsessed with that defeat, and we think that this defeat, this sadness, this suffering will last forever. But in reality, all good things come to an end, and as well as all bad things come to an end. Nothing lasts forever. So how can we live by not being attached to this winning and losing, and not being attached to any kind of these worldly conditions? Now, Buddha shows us the way to not to be attached to any kind of these things. The way to do that is to simply understand the nature of all these conditions. What is the nature? The nature of all the worldly conditions is they are subjected to change. Right? When you win, it is subjected to change. When you lose, it is subjected to change. And it is impermanent. Simply, you can remind it to yourself that this too shall pass. Okay? When you hit the rock bottom, when you go through problems, when you go through difficulties in your life, just remember to yourself that this too shall pass. This pain, this suffering too shall pass. And when you win, and when you're happy, and when everyone cheers for you around you, always remember to yourself that this is not going to last forever. This too shall pass. There is one of my favorite quotes that I read recently. It says, "When you win, you are not good as you think you are. And when you lose, you are not bad as you think you are." So when you win, everyone will cheer to you, everyone will congratulate you, everyone will say good things about you, but always remember, you are a man. You are a human. You are imperfect. And everything is subjected to change. Now, this does not say that you should not enjoy winning. You should not enjoy victory. You can enjoy victory. You can be happy about it. But simply understand this winning, this victory won't last forever. And when you lose, you have to remember to yourself that you are not bad as you think you are. You can learn from your mistakes, you can learn from your fails, and you can always improve yourself and always think that this is not going to last forever. This pain is not going to last forever. By simply understanding that everything is subjected to change, nothing is permanent in life, will help you to achieve a happier and more fulfilling life by not being attached to any kind of these extremes. When you win, do not be too much attached to it. And when you lose, do not be too much attached to it. Then you will be happy. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. No matter how good we are, no matter how talented we are, there are certain times in life we are going to make mistakes. We are going to mess things up in life. In such times, one of the most common things that we do is we hate ourselves. And this self-hatred can end up in serious situations like suicide. See how many times we say, "I love you" to someone. How often we say? We say it often, right? But how often we say, "I love myself. I appreciate who I am." This is something that we don't do oftenly. See, in Buddhist practice, the first step of spreading love and kindness is to practice love and kindness, or spread love and kindness to yourself. So the Buddha saw that without being filled with self-love and self-kindness, you cannot be kind to someone else. So that is why we have to learn how to be kind and how to love ourselves without hating ourselves. So from this video, I'm going to be sharing with you a few things that we have to understand and we have to practice to stop hating ourselves and to start appreciating and loving our life. Number one, do not believe in labels. See, there are lots of labels that we have put on ourselves. For an example, your name. Your name is a label that was given by maybe your parents, and everyone start to call from that name, and it became your personality. It became who you are. Okay? Same like that, we are so good at labeling ourselves with our imperfections, with our mistakes, or with our incapabilities. But here's the thing, the more we label ourselves with our incapabilities, for example, people say to themselves like, I am a person who is being angry all the time. Okay, I'm a person who has having a weak mindset. I'm a person who is lazy all the time. Okay, I don't have any friends. I'm not getting in with friends. Okay, I cannot be with these people. So the more you label like that yourself, it becomes your personality. And that is why we should not believe in the labels that we put on ourselves. Why? Because a label or your incapabilities or your weaknesses or your mistakes are just a thought pattern. And it is always can be changed. Okay? You can always improve. And that is why we should not label ourselves with our incapabilities and our mistakes or from our weaknesses. We always have the chance to improve and to evolve. Number 2, learn to accept mistakes. Mistakes are the proof that says that we are trying in life and we are not willing to give up on ourselves. Every great person in this world has made mistakes and they have learned from their mistakes, and that is how they evolved and that is how they achieved the greatness. Always remember, the mistakes will never define your character unless you define your character with your mistakes. So do not let your mistakes to define your character. Always you have the chance to improve and move on and make yourself a good person and improve yourself. Believe in it. Number 3, stop criticism. This is something that is very important that we have to focus on in loving ourselves. Stop criticizing yourself. Stop criticizing others. Now here I'm not talking about the constructive criticism. I'm talking about the negative criticism. Okay? Do not criticize others and also do not criticize yourself. Okay? Why we should not criticize others to put others down? In each and every time when we criticize someone, we give the message to our mind that we are better than them. Okay, I am perfect than them. And you set standards to yourself. Most of the time, these are not realistic standards. Okay, and when we cannot live up to our own standards, what happens to us? We hate ourselves. And that is how criticism steals the self-love and the self-value. And that is why we should not criticize anyone. And number 4, believe that imperfection is beautiful. Just take a deep breath and look into this nature. Everything has that one nature that is the imperfection. From the little plant to the great mountain, everything is imperfect. Right? There is no perfectly symmetrical plant in this world. There is no perfectly symmetrical mountain in this world. Everything has the imperfection. And as humans, we also imperfect human beings. Okay? And also that gives the chance for us to evolve. It gives the chance for us to be more productive and be more successful. See, becoming successful and becoming happy is not a destination. It is not a perfection, right? It is always a journey. We have to keep improving ourselves. We have to keep becoming successful, becoming happy. It is a journey that we go through in this life. So when you accept the imperfections, no matter how good we are, no matter how talented we are, no matter how great we are, there will be always imperfections in life. When we accept it, we can focus our kindness and our love towards ourselves. And also, every single day, this is something that you can practice. When you wake up in the morning, just sit on the bed and think, no matter how imperfect I am, no matter what mistake that I do in my life, I'm not going to give up on myself. Right? I keep improving myself. I keep making myself a good person, a happier person, and I will never let go of myself. This is not something that is called selfishness. Selfishness is expecting many unrealistic things from yourself, right? And then when you're not up to your standards, you start to hate yourself. And that is why when you truly love yourself, truly love your imperfections, and truly love who you are and accept who you are, you get the chance to improve and you get the chance to evolve. And these are the things that we have to keep in mind in order to practice the self-love and improve the self-value. So keep practicing these things and make your life happier and healthier. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. A couple of days ago, I read this amazing Native American parable that gives a deep message about our minds. And I'm going to share it with you today. The story starts like this. A grandfather teaching life lessons to his grandson once said, "There is a battle going inside my head, son. And that battle is between two wolves. One wolf is evil. His anger, resentment, jealousy, hatred, inferiority, superiority, and negativity. And the other wolf is good. His kindness, compassion, love, humility, joyfulness, and positivity." In each and every one of our heads, there are these two wolves fighting this battle to take control over our life. Then the grandson thought for a moment and asked from his grandfather, "Well, Grandpa, who wins this battle?" Then this old grandpa looked into his grandson's eyes and smiled and said, "Well, my son, the one who wins is the one who you feed." Ladies and gentlemen, throughout the day, throughout the life, we keep feeding these two wolves in our mind. The more we feed the negative side of our mind, these thought patterns will become more powerful. And it goes to the other way the same. If we keep feeding our minds with love and compassion and generosity, with the positive thoughts, these thought patterns will become more powerful. See, we become more serious about the quality of the food that we put into our bellies. But very few of us will become more serious about the quality of the thoughts that we put into our minds. And that is why the Buddha said, "Guard your mind against all evil thoughts. Cultivate wholesomeness by avoiding all evil thoughts from your mind." The wise people are the ones who are truly self-controlled. So we need to be more serious about what we feed into our thoughts, same like we become serious about what we feed into our bodies. So keep in mind to feed the positive side of your life. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. If there is one simple word that we all struggle to say, and that is no. N-O, no. Two simple letters, one simple word, but saying no can be the most hardest thing in life to do. Why we struggle to say no? The reason why we struggle to say no is because we have gotten used to say yes to many unimportant things in life. Okay? When we say yes to unimportant things in life, what happens to us? We miss the chance and we miss the time to say yes to the important things in life and to the things that really matters to us. Okay? And that is why we need to learn how to say no to unimportant things and how to say yes and how to be more focused on saying yes to the important things in life. Okay? So the reason why I'm doing this video is because a couple of days ago, I came across this word. When I was chanting, I came across this word in Karaniya Sutta. The Buddha says, "Appakicho," do less. If you practice the Buddha's teachings, if you practice the spiritual path, or in any area of your life, you have to do less. Do not do more. Now, The society says the quite opposite thing to us. The society says that do more. The more you do, the more you achieve. Do many things as much as you can, then you will achieve. But turns out doing more will not help us to be more productive. Okay? To be more productive in what we are doing. To be more productive what really matters to in life. So that is why we have to master to say no to certain things in life. And really be focused on what really matters to us. So from this video, I'm going to be sharing with you 5 tips that will help you to say no to unimportant things in life and to say yes and to be more focused on what really matters to you. Before learning how to say no to unimportant things in life, we have to understand why we say yes to unimportant things in life. The reason why we say yes to unimportant things is because of fear most of the time. Sometimes it is because of the fear of missing out. Sometimes it is the fear of letting someone down. Sometimes it is the fear of the only one to say no. Okay? Sometimes it is the fear of making the wrong decision. So that is why we say yes to unimportant things in life. And sometimes we say yes not only to the people but also for the things in life. Okay? For an example, let's say you're studying. While you're studying, you have the mobile phone beside you. Okay? All of a sudden, you see a notification pops up on your phone. Now, you know that you're studying and you know that you have to be really focused on that. Okay? But you pick up the phone and you check what it is. Sometimes it is not necessary for you, but you check it and you say yes to that distraction. Let's say sometimes you plan to learn or to meditate in an evening. All of a sudden, you get a call from your friend and say that they ask for you to come with them to go shopping, maybe go to a party or to go to a walk. Because of fear of putting that person down or letting that someone down or to say no, we say yes to them. Okay? So when you say yes to them, sometimes we miss the chance and we miss that valuable time to be focused, to be more focused on what really matters to us. Okay? What really helps us to achieve our larger purpose in life. And that is why we have to learn how to say no correctly. So here are the few steps that you can help you to achieve that. The first step to saying no to unimportant things in life is to build a good self-awareness. Okay? You have to have a good understanding what really matters to you and why you say yes to certain things and why you say no to certain things. When you're aware of that, then you can easily say yes to important things in life and no to unimportant things in life. So before saying yes to something, just ask from yourself this question, why? Why am I saying yes to this? Okay, before saying yes to something or to a person, just figure out why you say yes to that person or why you say yes to that thing. Okay? Before you say no to certain things, you have to figure out why you are saying no to certain things in life. For an example, let's say you need to check your mobile phone. Okay, your mind says to check your mobile phone. Before doing that, you have to ask from yourself, why? Why am I doing this? Why should I do this? When you ask from yourself that question, you become more aware of yourself. You become more aware of what you're doing. The Buddha says, before you do something or before you say something, just ask from yourself that is it helpful for me? Is this thing that I'm going to do is helpful for me or helpful for others? Is it good for me? Is it good for others? When you ask from yourself that question, and if you come to the answer that, yes, this is really worthy of saying yes. This is really worthy of saying, this is really important to me, then do it. But if you come across the answer that, no, this doesn't really matters to me, okay, it is not important to my life, then by all means, do not do it, because it steals your time, the valuable time in your life. So the first step of saying no, learning how to say no to unimportant things in life, is to build a good self-awareness. The second step of learning to say no to unimportant things in life is to build a good self-discipline. And now this is the most hardest part, because it takes a lot of courage and grit to say no. And you need to be more disciplined to say no to unimportant things in life. Because sometimes the things that we say no, we have to say no to unimportant things in life, may be the most enjoyable things in life. Okay, let's say like we all like to enjoy in life, but sometimes those things that makes us enjoyable will not help us to be more productive. Okay, for an example, let's say you are going to study and you're planning to study, you're planning to meditate, but well, sometimes your friends ask you to come and join to a party. Okay, now you like to go to a party, but you know that the most important thing in your life is the learning process. That is what helps you to achieve more success. The most important thing in life is to build a good spiritual, a strong spiritual base in your life. So then it is very difficult to say no to those things, because we fancy in doing all those things. Okay, so that is where we need the self-discipline, to be disciplined and to say no. This is what really matters to me, and I have to do it. Then you have to say no to those people politely. You can explain why you are saying no. Okay, I heard this one quote saying that learn to say no to people without explaining yourself. I would say learn to say no to people and explain why you're saying no to them. Then they can understand why you're saying no. Okay, so then they will respect your time and your values in your life. So that is why we have to learn to say no politely and correctly. The third step is to understand that your time is valuable. Time is the most valuable asset that we have in our hand. Okay, and our time on this earth is really limited. You don't have an infinite time on this earth. We have a finite time, and we have to use that limited time very well. So I would suggest, look at your time like you look at your money. Okay, so when you get money, you don't spend that money lavishly or to whichever the thing that you want. You don't put that money wherever you are. No, we become more serious, and you become more serious about your money. Same like that. Think about your time as you think about your money. Okay, because money can be earned again, but the time cannot be earned again. You cannot take back the time. It is limited, and that is why in this limited time, you have to do the best thing that you can do. Okay, be more serious when it comes to time. Don't waste it. Okay, it is the most valuable asset that we have. If you value time, if you respect your time, then you can say no to unimportant things, and then you can learn to say yes to what really matters in your life. Okay, so respect your time and also respect other people's time as well. And the next step is to ask this magic question. The magic question is it really necessary? Before you say something, before you do something, before you say yes to someone or something, ask, is it really necessary? Do I really have to do it? Okay, sometimes because we say yes to unimportant things in life is because we don't know that we don't really need it. For an example, let's say you came back home after a tired day, okay, and you say yes to social media, and you scroll through and it steals maybe 1 or 2 hours of your valuable time. In that time, there is someone that is valuable that you can do. Maybe to talk with your kids, maybe talk with your parents, maybe talk with your children. Then you can be more engaging with them and do something valuable with them. Instead of hanging out in social media and wasting that valuable time, just we can do something valuable. Before doing that, we have to ask, is it really necessary? Do I really have to do it? Then you can decide what to say no and what to say yes. Okay? So keep that in your mind. And the final step is to figure out what is really important to you. What really matters to you. Now, the most of the time, the reason why we say yes to unimportant things in life is because we haven't figured out what really matters in life. Okay, what really matters to us. So that is why if you have a good understanding what is the larger purpose of your life, what really matters to you, what is really valuable in your life, you can be more focused on that and say no to other things in life that really never helps you to achieve the larger purpose in your life. So I would suggest take a quiet time in your day to figure out what really matters to me today. What should I do, and what is the most important thing that I should do today to achieve the larger purpose of my life. In that way, you will have a good understanding what really matters in your life and the things that don't really matter in your life. And be more focused in doing those things. Sometimes it is more enjoyable doing unimportant things in life. But although it is enjoyable, although it is hard to say no to all those distractions, we have to say no to them, because those are the things that prevents us engaging and achieving the larger purpose in our life. So finally, these are the tips that you can practice to say no to unimportant things and to say no to distractions in your life and to be more focused on what really matters. So finally, saying no can be really hard. I know it is really hard, but in order to achieve a happy life and a calmer life and a more disciplined life, we have to say no, and we have to learn to say no to unimportant things in life. So practice these little tips and then you will be happy in your life. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. Welcome to another video. Today, let's talk about how can we practice Buddhism. Should you become a Buddhist, or should you convert to a Buddhist to practice Buddhism? This is what we are going to talk about today. Well, first of all, you have to know and you have to realize what Buddhism is. Buddhism doesn't have much of a religious aspects. It is more of, Buddhism should be understood as a practice or a way of life. Okay? So in that sense, everyone can practice Buddhism. It is open to everyone. There is no one to force to practice Buddhism, or there is no one to force you to believe certain things. So it's quite of a free practice, and you have the independence and you have this freedom to practice Buddhism and practice whatever you feels okay, right? If you like to practice meditations, then it's okay, right? You can practice meditations. If you want to practice generosity, this is one of the basic Buddhist practice. If you want to practice generosity, you can practice that. Okay, and also if you want to practice the precepts or living the life in a disciplined way, practice the morals, then you can do it. So it is free and it has this freedom to practice. So you don't want to convert to a Buddhist. You don't want to become a Buddhist. In fact, in the Buddha's time, there was no person called Buddhists. Okay, there were no people called Buddhists. Only there was people, and also there were people who practiced the Buddha's teachings or Buddha's path. Okay, so this is what you have to understand. You don't want to become a Buddhist. There is no process of conversion. You can practice, and it is free to everyone. It is open to everyone. Buddha's
Dhamma, this is the Buddha's teachings. Dhamma has this quality called ehipassiko. Buddha says that come and see, right? Come, learn about this, and realize and see this. See the reality of the life. This is what Buddha says. So it is open to everyone. Anyone can practice Buddhism. So there is no exceptions to practice Buddhism. Anyone can do this. So this is what I have to share today. So practice the Buddha's teachings and live a peaceful and a wise life. Namo Buddhaya.
Still, I can remember this incident. When I was little, when I was at school, one of my teachers came to our noisy classroom and she asked from us, "Do you know why you have given 2 ears and 1 mouth?" Then she said, "The reason why we have given 2 ears and 1 mouth is to talk less and to listen more." Ladies and gentlemen, when we deal with people in our relationship life, in your family life, in your workspace, if you have this quality of active listening, that can help you in many ways. This quality can help you in many ways. Okay? Now, so many people come to our temple and they talk with the monks with their problems and about their family problems, the problems in the workspace. And there's one thing that they all say, and that is, they say, they are not listening to me. They are not willing to pay attention to me. They cannot understand me. That is one thing that they say. So, if you have the art of active listening, if you practice the art of active listening, you will be liked by many people, right? People always like to talk with someone who is paying more attention to them, right? If you consider about the Buddha, Buddha was a great listener. At one time, one man comes up to the Buddha and he starts insulting him, right? He starts blaming him. All through that incident, the only thing that Buddha did was he listened to that person, right? He paid a good attention to that person. And in another time, one lady comes with her son died on her hand, and she was wailing and she was lamenting in front of the Buddha. And the only thing that the Buddha did was, he paid attention to that lady's suffering, right? He listened to that lady's suffering. So, if you can practice this art of active listening, if you can listen more and talk less, people will start to like you. Remember that. For an example, if you come up to me, right? If you wanted to talk about a problem that you are having in your life, and from the beginning of the conversation, if I started to give you instructions and give you the advice and my opinions about that problem, what would you feel? You will start to think like, this monk cannot understand me. He's not willing to pay attention to me. He's not willing to listen to me. So practice this art of active listening. So how can we practice the listening? Well, the Buddha said that all the words that we speak from our mouth is pre-processed in our mind. That means we think first all these words and then we put it into our mouth and we speak. So if we can be mindful about what we think, what is going on in our mind, then it is very easy to control what you speak. And then it is very easy to know when to speak and when not to speak. So this practice is called, being mindful about the thoughts is called Chittanupassana in Buddhism, right? For that, the only thing that we have to do is like just sit in a quiet place and just watch our thoughts, what comes to our mind. We don't want to react with that thought. We don't want to chase behind that thought. Just identify the thought as just a thought. That is one practice that you can practice to be a good listener. And also, there's another way to practice this listening ability is to engage in conversations and try to listen more to that person.
So in the next conversation that you're having, try this out. Go to someone, and if they wanted to talk with you, just from the beginning of the conversation, tell it to yourself that I'm going to listen to this person more. I'm going to pay attention to this person more. That is one way of paying and showing your love and affection to the person that is in front of you, right? That is why lending a good ear and listening to someone and sharing their suffering or problems with them is one way of showing your compassion and love towards them. Okay? So in the next conversation, when you go through that, just listen more to them. Let them put out what is in their mind. And when they go silent, and then you have to ask some more questions. Tell me, how did you do that? Right? How it happened? Right? Tell me more about the details that happened. Then they will be more interested in talking with you, and they will start to like you and love you. When you practice this, then you will get used to this active listening. Okay? And also remember, do not listen to someone just to reply to them or just to give your opinion to them. Always listen to people to understand about their situation, to understand who the person behind these words, and to understand the intention behind these words. When you do that, then you will become an active and a good listener, and then you will be liked by many people. So that is all about the active listening. Be mindful about your thoughts and listen more than you talk. Keep that in your mind. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. Welcome everyone to another video. Today, let's talk about something that is really, really important for all of our lives. Now, if you want to be good at anything that you want to be good at, let's say if you're studying, or if you're meditating, or if you are someone who is practicing the spiritual path, what is that one quality that you have to have in your life to be a master of it? If you're studying, what is that one quality that you have to have in your life to be a master? That is called consistency. Have you ever thought about why we are so good at bad habits or bad things? Bad things like anger, getting angry all the time, or feeling jealousy all the time, or bad things like procrastination or laziness. Why we are so good at these things? We are so good at these things because we have done it over a long period of time continuously, right? If you start getting angry, or if you start losing your temper again and again every single day, what will happen? You will be good at it, okay? If you are procrastinating the things that you want to do, then you will be a good procrastinator. So one main important quality to be good at anything in this life, or to have a habit to our life, is consistency. That is why we are so good at bad things. So we can use this theory or this consistency for our own benefit, right? If you're someone who is studying, right, you have to do it every single day, again and again, repeatedly, even in the days where you don't feel like doing it, because that is the hardest part and that is the most important part. When you feel like not doing it, but if you keep doing it, if you keep moving forward, if you keep going through it, then you will be able to make a good habit of it. And once you become good at it, or once you make a habit in it, then it will be so easy for you. So that is why our great teacher, Supreme Buddha, said that when you practice the spiritual path, right, when you practice meditations, do it again and again and again. Do not do it like here and there, once in a week, once in a blue moon. When you do that, and when you expect more results, you will never get it. So that is why Buddha said, mettaya bhikkhave cheto vimuktya asevitaya bhavitaya bahuli kataya. Buddha said, when you practice the mind of loving kindness, this is about practicing the loving kindness, meditation and mind of loving kindness. Asevitaya bhavitaya bahuli kataya. That means you have to use that mind of loving kindness. You have to do it again and again, consistently, bahuli kataya. Use it again and again. When you do that, you will be good at it. And the loving kindness or the love or the patience or the compassion will be a part of your life. Okay? So when you meditate, when you practice spiritual practice, or if you're studying, or if you're in a profession, if you are developing a skill, then what is the most important thing to have in your life to be good at it? The consistency. So do it on the days that you don't feel like doing it also, right? When you do that, when you move forward through it, then you will be a master of it. But here's the most important thing that you have to have. Do not judge your progress in your life, right? We are so busy to have quick progress, quick results, because we are used to this instant world, right? We live in an instant world, right? We can find everything we want in our mobile phone, right? If you want to Google something, instantly you get the results. So we are used to this instant world. But when it comes to the spiritual practice, when it comes to the soft skills or developing the skills that you want, it is not that easy and it is not that instant. You have to do it little by little, and you have to expect little progress from one session. So do not judge your progress. Do not judge your improvements. The most important thing is to do it every single day. Keep moving, and then you will be a master of anything that you want to be a master of. Okay? So I hope you got some idea about the consistency and the value of it. So keep practicing and keep doing these things. So I wish you all, may all of you be well and happy, and may all of you live in peace forever. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. Welcome to another video. In today's video, I'm going to introduce you to the most famous Buddhist text in this world. Now, if you are new to Buddhism and if you'd like to learn more about Buddhism, this is one of the best books that you can read. So, the book's name is Dhammapada. Now, what is Dhammapada? Dhammapada is a set of verses that was originally preached by the Buddha himself, and this Dhammapada contains 423 verses in it, and these 423 verses are divided into 26 chapters. So why Dhammapada is important? You know, for Hindus we have Gita, and in Christianity we have Bible, and in Islam we have Quran. Same like that, to the Buddhist world we have Dhammapada. Now Dhammapada is not the only text that we have to learn Buddhism. There are many texts, but this is called as the Handbook of Buddhists. Why it is called as Handbook of Buddhists? If you went through 2-3 random pages and if you read on 2-3 verses, you can learn many life advices. You can learn many Dhamma facts about life. So that is why it is called the Handbook of Buddhists. So that is why it is widely used, and this is the most famous Buddhist text in this world. So as an example, if you turn to a random page and if you read a verse, you can find something very valuable. Let's go for that. So in 236th verse, the Buddha says, "Make an island for yourself. Strive hard and become wise. Get rid of impurities and cleanse of stain. You shall enter the celestial abode of the noble ones. It goes like that. So if you turn to another random page and if you read a verse, it goes like this. The good shine even more afar, like the Himalayan mountain. But the wicked are unseen, like the arrows shot in the night. So if you turn to random pages and if you read, you can gain many life advices and many valuable Dhamma facts. So that is why we have to use this Dhammapada. If you are interested in using this Dhammapada, I will link down some links below that you can find Dhammapada and read it online also. And also there are some links that you can download the PDF file links down below. So this is the importance of Dhammapada, and that is why it is known as the most famous Buddhist books in this world. So that is the end of this little introduction video. So I hope you found something very valuable to your life. So practice Dhamma and practice good deeds. So I wish you all, may all of you be well and happy forever. Namo Buddhaya.
Namo Buddhaya. Good morning, everyone. Welcome and welcome back to another video. From today's video, we're going to discuss about the practice of merit in Buddhism. Now, the word that is given to the merit in Pali text is punya. Now, the Buddha describes this punya in many ways. Now, in one place, the Buddha describes that there are 3 streams of accumulating merits, and there are 3 streams of merits to life. One is being dana, the generosity, giving, sila, living the life in a virtuous way, and bhavana, the meditation. So Buddha mainly describes these are the 3 practices and these are the 3 streams of merits to life. But the practice of merit is one of the most underappreciated practices in Buddhism, specifically when it comes to the Western approach of Buddhism. It may seem like a sensible thinking because this practice may seem like a little bit deviating from the core concepts like non-self and letting go in Buddhism. But the practice of merit is one of the things that even the Buddha had appreciated. So if the Buddha appreciated it, if the Master appreciated it, then there is no reason that we can see that we can deny the practice of merit. Now, the reason why the Buddha emphasized the practice of merit is because it is like a good foundation for the spiritual practice, right? For an example, if someone practices giving, right, he practices a form of selflessness, like letting go, so that it gives the rise, it gives the spark to let go in a higher way, like a higher state, right? So the Buddha says that practice these 3 streams of merit and develop a good foundation of spirituality. And with that foundation of spirituality, you can achieve the higher states of spirituality. So that is why the Buddha emphasized the practice of merit in Buddhism, so that we cannot say that you should not practice merit, right? I have seen a lot of people that deny the practice of merit. They say like, oh, we should not practice merits, we should let go of that, and we should always focus on the selflessness and vipassana and non-self. But here's the thing, without that foundation, how can we build up a good spiritual practice? How can we achieve the higher states of spirituality? And that is why the Buddha says, practice this merit. So simply, what is merit? Merit are the actions that we do with the good intentions, like generosity, compassion, loving kindness, and these actions leads to the wholesome states of mind. And the more we practice this, the more wholesome our mind become, right? So the point of practice of merit is to keep the mind in a wholesome state, right? The more we do it, the mind tend to turn towards the wholesome side of the mind, right? That is why we practice this merit. And also, there are many ways to do that, right? By giving, you can practice merit, right? By being selfless and putting yourself into service towards others can accumulate merits. And also by living a virtuous life can accumulate merit. And by meditating, giving loving kindness, showing compassion, there are lots of ways to accumulate merits to life, right? And if we do that, we can become a good human. Simply the point of practicing the merit is to simply become a human with good intentions and a human with a wholesome heart. So the practice of merit is crucial in Buddhist practice, and do not deny it, right? Keep on practicing it, and it lays you a good foundation for all of your spiritual practices. So keep this little advice in your mind and practice this merit and make your life beautiful. Namo Buddhaya.